Nathan King joined here with Jason Caldwell for Auburn Undercover. Be sure to head over to auburnundercover.com for all of our coverage of what is sure to be a wild coaching search here on the Plains. You can get our full VIP experience at Auburn Undercover for 60% off right now. It's a phenomenal deal that's going to last throughout this coaching search. So you definitely want to jump on that and don't miss anything for the next month or so.
Absolutely. Like I said, 60% off, tons of football coverage. Obviously, recruiting is volatile as that is as you head into the December signing day. Basketball, Stephen Pearl, they're getting underway as well. So tons of checkout. AuburnUndercover.com, 60% off. Do it now.
Welcome on in, everybody, here to the Auburn Undercover YouTube channel, auburnundercover.com. Nathan King, joined by Jason Caldwell. We are back once again at the Woltosz Football Performance Center. Probably going to have a bunch of these. We were over at Jordan-Hare Stadium on Saturday, and then came over here and staked out as you do some real journalism as Hugh Freeze was obviously fired, and it's been a crazy last 48 hours in Auburn, but good to get a lot of clarity and information and insight today from sort of the two men of the hour, if you will, John Cohen, the athletic director, and DJ Durkin, Auburn's interim head coach. First, the conversation with John Cohen that we had, I thought one thing was kind of clear. We talked about this on the podcast last night, that the decision to fire Hugh Freeze, Cohen was asked about whether it was a certain game or a certain moment of this season. He just said, look, when your offense isn't producing, and especially not producing at critical moments of games, it all just kind of compounds on one another. And so I think, again, we talked about this a little bit last night, but it's like, this was not a complicated situation. Both Durkin and Cohen had very glowing things to say about Hugh Freeze, the person, what he brought to this program. Sometimes it just doesn't work out on the football field, and that's exactly what happened here.
Yeah, in the end, and you're an offensive guy, it's offense. Yep. And that was that's what John Cohen said several times and repeated it, said, look, just an okay offense, and you look, and this team is probably, and hey, you could have a couple more wins anyway, but with just an okay offense, you could be sitting here and still be in contention for a playoff berth. And that part about being close is true, but again, he said, look, it doesn't matter. Being close doesn't matter if you don't get over the finish line, and so that's where you are offensively. And I think we mentioned it Saturday night. It felt like again today that Kentucky was the tipping point.
Yes,
it was already teetering. But Kentucky was the tipping point to this, and look, when you don't produce offensively and you're an offensive coach, that comes along with the territory.
Yeah, and that's all that John Cohen said was that, look, the offense is what has held this team back, what's held this team back in recent seasons, even going back before Hugh Freeze, and I thought it was he was very passionate. We got a little bit of fist pounding just lightly, talking about what these fans deserve. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what came to a head as well, is that this was another sellout crowd. This was another night game at Jordan-Hare Stadium. These people just keep coming back and supporting this program. That parlays into another part of this conversation. Jason, you asked John Cohen about what kind of hire he wants to make. I think it's an interesting situation now, because do you go offense again? He talked about needing to have good quarterback play. Of course, they thought they had that when they hired Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
He used a word several times.
What was the word of the day?
I mean, he said edge probably 7 or 8 times to Jason's question about what they need in the next football coach. I think it's kind of clear that the lean that he's having right now, if November 3rd is to be any indication.
Yeah, and I don't think it necessarily means it has to be. You would normally you equate that to defensive coach. I don't think it necessarily needs to be a defensive coach. But you heard DJ Durkin talking about being aggressive. I think aggressive nature, physical, line of scrimmage, that's when I think edge, that's what I think about. And so I think you have to have that across the board, though, in everything you do, whether it's recruiting, whether it's off-season, whether it's game planning. I mean, the game days. And John Cohen talked about fourth quarters. Now, look, that's the time when you should be attacking, and it just didn't feel that way for this team, especially offensively. And so, I think that's a key word. You think about it, I would feel like an aggressive guy, a guy that doesn't back down, and not saying Hugh Freeze did, but I think you're going to feel a little bit different type of candidate, in my opinion.
A few other sort of concrete things that John Cohen said that I think are worth mentioning. He talked about a timeline for this. They want it to be as soon as possible after the regular season, but he did note that sometimes those things can change depending on who's coaching, and he said something very important there, that he wants the pool of candidates to come from those who are coaching right now.
Yeah.
I think that would eliminate somebody. You never know. Again,
never know.
November 3rd. I think that would eliminate a Jimbo Fisher, maybe.
Yeah, it does feel like he said, look, we hopefully those guys are going to be coaching in football games somewhere else, which means they're coaching now. They're coaching in bowl games or
important
getting
games
ready for the playoffs, whatever it is. And so, yeah, it does feel like somebody that is invested because we've talked about it. It's such a different sport right now than it was even 5 years ago. John Cohen talked about that, and I asked about it, and I think he kind of got lost a little bit in the weeds on my question. But I asked him about, look, does that mean a CEO type of guy to handle those responsibilities and to delegate more to your assistant coaches? It feels like that to me is part of this as well, but it's such a different sport now that I think somebody that's in it, in the mix right now, is vitally important to being successful.
Speaking of those coaching candidates that, of course, we will continue to look for information on and provide to you guys at Auburn Undercover. As we mentioned yesterday, and it's very clear, DJ Durkin will be one of those, will be somebody who is in consideration. I thought John Cohen put it really well. He said DJ has earned that opportunity. When you do what you've done so far at Auburn, he said absolutely he will be in consideration. Now, I didn't want to go any further than that, but he said, look, of the pool of candidates that we're going to consider, he's going to be among that. And then you turn to DJ Durkin, who was up on the podium next, and it was very clear that he just wants to beat Diego Pavia in Vanderbilt.
Yeah, he said, look, and that's all you can handle. That's all you can focus on is, look, what's next? That's the next game, and that's Vanderbilt. And there's a whole lot on his plate right now because you got to figure out, obviously one thing we know is that Derek Nix will be the play caller for this offense. Everything else pretty much stays the same. There's been no staff changes as far as on the field staff for this team. So you look and go, okay, Derek Nix is your play caller. You still got a game plan defensively. They've got a game plan offensively. And then you got to figure out as a staff who your quarterback's going to be and how you move foot. There's a whole lot to worry about right now other than, hey, am I going to get this job or not?
Sure, and then it would obviously behoove him to perform well if he wants to get this job. And so, again, like Jason said, that's all you can really worry about. And one thing DJ Durkin, I think he harped on it several times, trying to make this the most familiar as possible for the players. We're really not trying to change anything. You mentioned off the field, some staffers maybe, but in terms of that on the field group, it is going to stay exactly the same. I think that's the right decision. Yeah. You don't want to blow things up this late in the season, and DJ Durkin's going to continue to wear that defensive coordinator hat. You kind of have to. At this point, I asked him about, that assistant slot, and he was like, it doesn't really matter at this point. You had Chad Lunsford as well, so it's like it doesn't necessarily matter how you fill those things in. But like you said, Derek Nix will be the play caller. Something I kind of buried the lead on, which I thought was maybe the most important thing said today, is that John Cohen said, look, this is going to be my hire. And he kind of owned that. He said, I will be the committee. Now, he said several times, including the question about what did you learn from hiring Freeze the first time, that you take in as much data as you can, that he is going to, every waking second.
He's an analytics guy.
Correct. He's going to dive into that, and he's going to hear from all sorts of opinions. But he was very clear. Number one, this is his hire. It's going to fall on his shoulders, which is what should happen with the athletic director. And number two, he completely dismissed the notion of influential boosters and people at Auburn that are going to sway him one way or another.
Yeah, now, here's the thing. And I had this question earlier on a radio show in the state, and I said, listen, first of all, people kind of paint Auburn in that picture going, well, like everybody, every school, I don't care if it's Louisiana Monroe, I don't care if it's Montana State, whoever it is, you have influential people that give you money, and those people will have an opinion. You'll talk to those people.
You'll hear it,
but
yeah,
in the
absolutely.
end, John Cohen's going to make this decision. We've known him now well enough to know that he is who he is, and he believes that he is the guy that can make the right choice. And I kind of like the fact that he's like, look, this is my call, and take ownership of it. And he's a guy that will work diligently to do that. And I'll say this: he's one of the most competitive people I've ever met. So he wants to win, and he wants to get the right person in, and now he'll have a chance to do that.
I said it in the story when Freeze got fired, and just the immediate top of the story, I said, Hugh Freeze said this season was unacceptable, and then when he got fired, that meant the administration clearly agreed. That was kind of the word I come back to today, was that John Cohen just kind of, I don't even know if he necessarily said it a single time, but that was the tone to me of like, this didn't get it done, but my job is now to...
We expect more.
Correct. My job is now to make a move that is going to get the job done.
That's the
fans.
Overwhelming theme is they deserve more, fans deserve more, we expect
the
more,
talent,
everything. And so look, that's it. It's like, hey, the expectations are to be better than this, and in the end, as close as they were at times, it wasn't close enough.
He didn't want to use that word.
No, and so now that's it. You look and go, honestly, look, that's not acceptable. And so now you go and See if you can find somebody to get you over the hump. And look, you have examples of this. Going, look, Texas A&M, they recruited a bunch of really good players under Jimbo Fisher, and you bring in a coach and you go, man, all of a sudden it clicks and you start to see it take off with a lot of those same talented players. We'll see if Auburn can find the guy to do that for this roster.
And one thing I thought was that you and I mentioned on the podcast as well that I thought was kind of important today, John Cohen did not say, we got to deliver championships here at Auburn. We need to be competing at the highest level in the SEC. Is that what they want to do? Absolutely.
It's a given.
But it is right now more about assessing the current situation and saying, this is not going to work. Now, how are we going to get better? And that's going to happen one step at a time. Not necessarily throwing up all these lofty expectations right out of the gate and simply saying the product on the field just has to be better, particularly on offense. And so, really insightful stuff today. We really enjoyed getting to a chat with John Cohen and DJ Durkin. Head over to auburnundercover.com. Full press conference videos of both those guys, in addition to stories that Jason and I wrote about them. And we'll be headed over to basketball here in just a few hours for Stephen Pearl's debut as another new head coach tonight at 7 o'clock Central Time against Bethune-Cookman. So we'll have coverage of that at auburnundercover.com as well. It'll be a busy day.
And if you're not a subscriber,
gotta be
60% off for all of the things we're doing. Great deal, great time for it. So come check us out. Like I said, a ton of information going on. So come find us at auburnundercover.com.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys over there and talk to y'all soon.